Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has sued Republican Representative and Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee Jim Jordan over interference in former President Donald Trump's court case. Now, according to CNN, the lawsuit is centered on a, quote, transparent campaign to intimidate and attack Bragg's case against Trump.
In response to the lawsuit, Jordan tweeted, "First they indict a president for no crime, then they sue to block congressional oversight when we ask questions about the federal funds they say they used to do it." The House Judiciary Committee announced that they will hold a field hearing on Monday, April 17th in New York City, where they will examine how Bragg's, quote, pro-crime, anti-victim policies have led to an increase in violent crime and a dangerous community for New York City residents. Bragg responded to this event saying, quote, "Don't be fooled. The House GOP is coming to the safest big city in America for a political stunt. This hearing won't engage in actual efforts to increase public safety."
So there was this former member of Bragg's office, the district attorney's office. His name is Pomerantz. And Jim Jordan wants to subpoena him to testify. Now, Pomerantz was critical of Bragg, but from a more liberal direction. He thought the case against Trump was solid, and he wanted to move faster on the prosecution. And it seems like Bragg was initially more hesitant. He left the office. He actually wrote a book that was critical of Bragg for reasons including that. So they want to subpoena him to testify, I gather, with the aim of showing that Bragg was not motivated enough to bring this case. What changed? Is there political pressure? Something like that. Pomerantz obviously supports the case against Trump, so does not want to testify. So he would need to be subpoenaed, which is what Jim Jordan's doing. And Bragg's office is saying that this is intimidation. This is an effort to thwart the prosecution of Trump. That's the situation.
Yeah, well summarized. It's a really bizarre posture because Jim Jordan's calling someone who ostensibly very, very much wants this case to go forward against Donald Trump. And I think Bragg's position is, well, the case wasn't right then. We didn't have a good case at the time. We just needed more time, and now is the time. Whether or not you really believe that, given how long it's been since the facts underlying this case were all like 5-6 years ago. And the fact that all of this happened, Pomerantz leaving the office, that was all just in February. So who knows how much could have, or February last year, actually, I think. So who knows when all of this, how much could be discovered in that time. But the point of the matter is, it is difficult for me to argue that this isn't kind of Jim Jordan throwing things at the wall to see what will stick, trying to just muss up and distract. The stuff about New York City's crime obviously doesn't have anything to do with the Trump case, but any effort to undermine Bragg is a point scored for people who wanted to defend Donald Trump. That's not a value judgment. That just seems to be what the play is.
Agreed. I don't know if it violates any law to point it out. To my mind, should it be persuasive? It doesn't have anything to do with Trump. No, that doesn't mean that Alvin Bragg can silence anyone trying to engage in that kind of thing. That may be the case as well for this Pomerantz testimony. I don't know enough about the relevant, whether there's a statute here to prevent it. I tend to think the judge gets to have some say over, but he can only control the courtroom itself.
If I were Bragg,
I don't know. I don't think you can shut this down if Jim Jordan wants to go forward with this, right?
I mean, this feels like a nothing burger. There are types of intimidation that I would be concerned about. Bragg having to listen to Pomerantz say, yeah, I think he should have prosecuted the case earlier. Yeah, he had some skepticism, but I'm glad he's doing it now. I don't know that this is necessarily going to end well for Jim Jordan. This seems, obviously conservatives see the entire Trump case against Trump as a political prosecution. I don't think there's going to be very much sympathy for Bragg.
Well, and they're going to see
he's being attacked in the opposite way.
Yeah, it's going to look like even more persecution, because now they're going after Jim Jordan as well.
Sure. Yeah.
He's going to be able to, there's going to be lots of conservative media headlines about how exactly what he just said. First they came for Trump, now they're coming for me for sticking up for Trump, or trying to get clarity on some aspect of this prosecution. That seems very self-defeating and very, very playing into the very narrative Trump and his allies are trying to tell about what is happening to him. Yeah. So this is self-defeating kind of
I gotta say,
Democrat stuff.
Given the vulnerabilities of this case, which I discussed at length last week in my radar, it seems to me that if the value of this for the Democrats and for Bragg is largely on messaging, it is very confusing to me why Bragg has done such a bad job of framing this. We are still waiting to figure out what this additional crime hook is going to be that elevates these misdemeanor records violation charges into a potential felony. Without the felony, there's nothing against Trump. He's off scot-free. This was all a big waste of time and taxpayer money. And Bragg's position that, well, I don't have to tell you that right now, wait and see, it's technically true, but puts him in a position of basically allowing the media, including liberal media, to basically be gestating on the idea that this is a weak case without using the opportunity that was the national focus on him at his press conference last week to make the strongest case possible for why Trump is corrupt and bad. And that just seems like if you weren't prepared to do that and like win that optics battle last Wednesday or whenever that was, then it seems to me that there's a pretty strong argument that there is actually nothing there. Either you're very bad at your job or there is, in fact, a very weak case and not very much for you to have said at the podium that day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. And, you know, there have now been several days of media headlines and conversations about the weakness of the case. I know there are people out there who want to argue that it's a very strong case. I don't think they're winning the PR battle like at all, because obviously no one on the right thinks it's a good case. And then even some people who otherwise do want to prosecute Trump for something also don't believe that it's a solid case.
Yeah, well, we'll wait and see. That's the position that Alvin Bragg has put us in, and I'm interested to see how Republicans attempt to continue to combat that. What Pomerantz ultimately has to say if and when subpoenaed.
Do we know was his book specifically about his time? Do we know anything about that book?
Yeah, I mean, the argument is that in the book he argues that Bragg should have moved his feet faster on the prosecution.
The People versus Donald Trump. That's the name of the book.
Yeah. I mean, this is not a Trump-friendly witness here.
An inside account.
Yeah, he's being asked about a very narrow argument. You know, it seems a little bit like cutting off your nose to spite the face to bring this guy to talk just to knock at Bragg at the same time he's knocking at Donald Trump. Who's gonna take the most licks here? It remains to be seen. We'll continue to follow this, and we'll have more Rising for you right after this.